Hi, my name's Greg from TP Photography. Today I'm going to talk to you about the new Sonys that have just been announced. There's one camera and three lenses, so we've got a good amount of stuff to talk about. We've got the Sony A6300, which is a successor to the A6000 that was out for a while now. We've also got three lenses. We've got a 24-70 2.8 and a 70-200 2.8, as well as a fast prime, the 85 1.4. Now, a lot of people have been looking for these 2.8 constant aperture zooms, 24-70, 70-200, before they look at switching to the Sony system. So I've stopped using 2.8 zooms a lot when I was shooting with Nikon and also with Canon, mainly because they're big and heavy. And, you know, one of the advantages of moving to the mirrorless system is that they're quite a bit lighter than some of the bodies from Canon and Nikon. So obviously if you're putting a big heavy 2.8 zoom on there, then that's going to negate a lot of the value that you've got from going to a smaller, lighter system in the first place. Now, I appreciate that a lot of people will still want that 2.8 zoom. If you're shooting a lot of work where you can't zoom with your feet, maybe like sports or press, that sort of thing where you need that fast aperture. I think it's a good thing that they're offering that, because it'll open up the system to people who absolutely wanted that 2.8 feature. So there's that option now that if you do want or need a zoom with 2.8, you can now get that in the Sony system. So as more people take up the Sony system, then it's only going to be a good thing if people have the option to use these fast aperture zooms. As more people take it up, then obviously there'll be better support. They might be stocked in more places, so that's only going to be a good thing for the rest of Sony users, whether they use those lenses or not. That's kind of like a separate discussion almost. But also there's a new 85 1.4 fast aperture sort of portrait lens. Now this has been missing from the Sony system a little bit, in Sony lenses at least. Now I use the 90mm 2.8, which it's a 2.8, which I think for portraits, when you're quite close, for the sort of stuff that you're going to be using headshots for, things like that, 2.8 is plenty shallow. It's got image stabilizing in the lens if your body doesn't have that, and then obviously with the Sony cameras all having that in the body now, in the Mark IIs and things like that, then you can get away with slower shutter speeds anyway, so that negates a little bit of the 1.4 aperture. But obviously that 1.4 aperture is still going to let you isolate that subject that little bit better than a 2.8 lens is. So that is going to be a good option for portrait shooters. Now obviously the Batis 85 1.8 has been out for a while, but it's actually really hard to get hold of. So, this may ease supply on the 1.8 lens. People might prefer that because it's lighter. Personally, I'm going to see which one, how big the 85 1.4 is. I actually sold my 85 1.4 when I was shooting with Nikon and moved to the 85 1.8 simply because it was lighter, faster, and optically actually slightly better equivalent apertures that I shoot at. So we'll have to see how the Sony 85 1.4 is optically, and compare that and see the weight. And obviously it might be a balance of it's more expensive but better optically at faster apertures and all that sort of stuff. So I'm looking forward to sort of having a look at that and seeing how it is in the field. Take a few test shots with it. See how it goes. I'm not ruling it out at this point. I don't think it's something I'm going to get. I still think the Batis for me is going to be a bit of a winner, because I find that 1.8 is more than shallow enough for any work that I'm doing. And if I did want something shorter, there is obviously other ways to get shallower depth of field, such as the 85 1.2 manual focus lenses, things like that, if I absolutely needed that shallower depth of field for portraits and things like that. So that's a little bit about the lenses. I think they're a good step in the right direction. It's nice that Sony have added a few more lenses to the lineup. The 2.8 zooms were something that a lot of people have said to me was stopping them moving to Sony, because they needed that 2.8 for weddings and things like that. I didn't necessarily agree, but I can see how for them that might be a bit of a deal breaker. So that's a good thing. Now moving on to the camera, the Sony Alpha 6300. That's a follow-on to the A6000 that was out before. Looks like a nice solid upgrade. They've added in 4K video, which is going to be nice, because that means that then I can use my Sony A7s and the Sony A6300 to shoot 4K video if I need to. Obviously A7R2 shoots the crop mode 4K as well, so it'll be interesting to see how that compares optically, you know, is it the same? Is it better? Is it worse? But, you know, it'd be interesting to find out how that compares. Now, one thing that I have missed a little bit with the Sony A7 series is there's a couple of occasions where I sort of like the higher speed that the DSLRs were giving me in the past, particularly the D4. So one would be confetti, simply because it's all going up in the air, and you know, a faster frame rate gives you a better chance of capturing a good shot in there. You know, 5 frames a second still pretty good. You know, it's not bad. It's just obviously with more frames per second, you get a better chance of getting that shot. The other place is for group shots. Now, maybe a strange thing to say, you know, why they're all stood still. Why do I want to take lots and lots of pictures of that? I just find the easiest way is if I take a burst of pictures, then with a higher frame rate, then I've got more chance of their eyes being open. And I always find people prefer shots with their eyes open and looking at the camera than with their eyes closed. So that's a bit of a bonus if it works in that perspective. So I've put a pre-order in already. Hopefully I'll get one as soon as it launches in March. You know, sounds like there's some other cool features, like they've carried over the autofocus from the A7R2 and the A7 II in terms of it'll work with adapted lenses. Now, they're only saying about the Sony Alpha lens at the moment, and it sounds like it's the same as how it was with the A7R2. I wouldn't expect them to say anything about Metabones, but I fully expect all the Metabone stuff may work as well or even better maybe than the A7R2, given it's a little bit newer. It's actually got more focus points, I think 420 something phase detect points, which is over the 399 of the A7R2. So, you know, you've got massive coverage there, massive amount of phase detection points. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it works. So if you've got any comments or thoughts, leave them below the video as usual. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.